everyone. Today's case takes part in Great Linford, Buckinghamshire, England in 2003. Gregory Davis was born in 1979 into a respectful family as the son of a civil engineer and a care assistant. He attended secondary school at Radcliffe School in Milton Keynes. Davis first studied art during his sixth form and later at Northampton University. One of his works of art made during this period consisted of a trophy plaque bearing the names of his favourite serial killers. Davis was himself planning to be a serial killer and used his diary to plot murders, progressing on a diary entry that spoke of a desire to kill ad infinitum all over the world. He eventually went on a murder spree in January 28, 2003. Working his way through a compiled hit list, he first paid visit to Stuart Johnson, who escaped as kitchen fitters were working in his home. Davis then continued down the list to Stantonbury, where Dorothy Rogers failed to put up an obstacle to his murder aspirations. There he killed 48-year-old Mrs. Rogers and her 19-year-old son Michael at their home in Great Linford, Milton Keynes. After an argument in the house, he attacked Mr. Cowes with the hammer and then turned his attention to Mrs. Rogers and her son. Michael Rogers, who was killed after witnessing his mother's death, had tried to escape from the house but was stabbed in a nearby children's playground. Mick Cowes was attacked with a hammer and seriously wounded, but survived. Mick sadly died later in the year after a fall at home. The court was told Davis's original idea had been to kill Mr. Cowes. Mr. Brown QC said the defendant had ambitions to be a serial killer and was fascinated with mass murder and killers. He read extracts from Davis's diary which detailed a formula for his future life. It read, "Quick job tomorrow, get Mick killed, get Stuart to withdraw cash every day, when all gone, kill him. Repeat Mick plan ad infinitum all over the world, in Las Vegas and swanky bars." Patrick Brown QC, prosecuting, said Davis knew Mr. Cowes and Mrs. Rogers from the Pilgrim's Bottle pub Great Linford where they used to drink. At the height of his depression, he took a knife and hammer to Mrs. Rogers' home on the Stantonbury estate. In mitigation, Graham Perkins QC said, "The general public must appreciate this was the act of a sick man." On the 15th of December 2003, Davis stood trial at Luton Crown Court and pleaded guilty to manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. Mr. Justice Richard Akins accepted the plea after a team of 5 psychiatrists diagnosed him with major depressive disorder, social anxiety disorder, and alcohol dependence, and he was also in the grip of a psychotic episode when he killed at the time of the crime. He was given an indefinite sentence to be served at Broadmoor Hospital. But after just 6 years in Broadmoor, in 2009, he was transferred to Littlemore Hospital, where he was allowed out on short release. His victims' loved ones, who thought he would be in Broadmoor for life, were mortified. Davis was switched to a less secure unit, and psychiatrists now say he is harmless. Experts blame the horrific 2003 slaughter of Dorothy Rogers and her son Michael on a psychotic episode he suffered. Davis had written in a sick diary how he planned to be a serial killer before he battered the mum's partner senseless with a claw hammer, then used it to bludgeon her. He also stabbed Dorothy 31 times with a 12-inch carving knife at her home in Milton Keynes, Buckinghamshire. Then he chased her teenage son to a playground where horrified parents and kids saw the teenager disemboweled. A friend said Dorothy's surviving son and her twin sister reeled at the killer being let out. It's as if Davis just had a bad day at the office and is fit to go back to work again now. This man absolutely ruined their lives with a premeditated and merciless attack. It was a bloodbath. If they say he is now sane, then send him to an ordinary prison to finish his time. Davis has been enjoying his routine twice weekly unsupervised outings from Littlemore Unit in Oxfordshire for at least 6 months. One of them involved him being driven back to Milton Keynes, the town where he committed his terrible killings, to visit his parents. In 2011, Gregory Davis was released with conditions after convincing psychiatrists he was fit to be released. This left the family of his victims disgusted. After persuading a mental health tribunal, he was well enough to be given a conditional discharge. And to add insult to injury, in 2014, Davis had all conditions removed and was a free man. Just before his release, he uploaded a video to YouTube, flashing his £25,000 Patek Philippe watch and downing whiskey. Davis tried to join a trip to Thailand with luxury watch collectors, but they were horrified when security checks revealed Davis's disturbing past. In a lengthy email sent to the victim's local newspaper, Davis mounts a 1,600-word defense of the killings, barely pausing to express any remorse for their deaths. He claims he thought the world was a video game emanating from a blue orb on the back of his head, and the only way he could escape this unreality was to commit horrific crimes. He said, "I thought that nothing in the world was real except sick me, and that I had created the world as a game to test myself. I believe this information was emanating from a blue orb in the back of my head, and I had to do what it was telling me. I was convinced through the delusion that I had to be the opposite sort of person to how I had always been in order to break out of the unreality of the world I thought I was trapped in. Since in my life I had always been a law-abiding, polite and kind person up to that point, I was deluded into believing that I had to do terrible things like killing people." He adds, "Of course, the terrible acts I committed will never be healed for the victims' families, and I live with that part of me destroyed by what I did." Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.